welcome to the Sheds. We're on week 10 of Watsy Subbuteo Art Fantasy Show, whatever it's called. It's a weekly show. The weekly show's back. How are you?
Good. I think we should call it Table Football Weekly.
Can't do that. There's no table football. But what I did learn, tag table football in YouTube and you'll get followers from Emmons, people searching.
I remember a way back me telling somebody they start using hashtags in their thing, and week 10, and it's all of a sudden they've had a fucking brainwave about putting hashtags on.
Oh,
we'll not go on about it. We'll move on.
We'll move on quickly. We'll not keep it. So, big thank you to everybody that's been following, subscribing to the channel. Do you know how many we're at now?
Give it to me.
250.
Ooh. That's a quarter of a thousand.
Quarter of a thousand. Quarter of a grand. We've been going since April 23rd. Not me and you, but the channel. And we've had 7,851 views in that time.
And most of them came along whenever
you appeared.
I appeared. Thank you very much.
The monkey. Elliot got 250 views last week in 1 week. That's very more I've got the month.
That's good stats.
Good show. He was good last week. You enjoyed him, man.
Yeah, that's a star.
Thank you to our sponsor, Bad Boy Boxes. He has put in the post the training walls and the solo goalies. So hopefully get them this week. We'll tell you who won the first one. Check him out on Facebook. He does great boxes. So this week we have Fantasy Football Week 9. Our special guest, beers, what's in your box, match highlights, Painter's Corner, and Ruby. So let's get started with Fantasy Football. So, how did you do? You done all right, didn't you, yourself?
I think I was shit hot at fantasy football.
You were in contention up until the last day for the total pass score. So, top three, bit of a change. Apart from there was no change at the top. Dynamite still stays top. And then Barry Spence is in second. He's 9 points behind him. Barry Spence got the highest points total of the week. So he wins a Bad Boys Boxes training wall.
Very good.
We'll be in the post once they arrive. Trevor Cowdery is third. He's 18 points behind. 18 points behind Paul Pearson, who is also Kits for Flicks. Bradley, 79 points, second highest score. Well done. You're up to 14th.
Moving on up.
You're showing the form you showed at the start of the season, so you're doing right. You're doing all right. Keep it up.
I'm better off when I sit back and do nothing.
That's it.
Whatever I forget about it, it seems to go better.
Fantasy football is like sex. When it's good, it's good. And when it's bad, it's still good. Right.
Bit of blue in the show. That's enough. They've young viewers.
A wee special mention to Dahi Nolan. Aubameyang's gang got 73 points. He's 10 years of age and he's up to 18th. Marching already. Dermot O'Boyle, 73 points also, and he's up to 9th. At the bottom, Oisin is closing the gap on Jude Morrow. Oisin Park Villas got 64 points. Jude Scammed United got 51 points, and there's only 9 points in it between the two. So, getting close.
It's all big scores this week.
Hey?
All big scores this week.
There were a lot of 70s. I only managed a measly 55.
Shite.
Dropped again in the league.
Dropped again. Where are you sitting now?
I think I'm down to 25th.
Shite.
Muck.
Shite. I'm top 20.
You're
There's
top
been
20.
records written about being top 20.
Our friend in Norway, Tarji Elfison, he got a first score. This is his first week of scoring points, 58 points. Good. Could only 3 points more. Big players to score points this week was Calvin Lewin had 15. Son from Spurs had 10. Bruno Fernandes had 11. Jota had 9. Bellerin, defender, had 9. And if you had had them, your captain, you would have had double points, which a couple of people had Calvin Lewin and got them 30 points.
My captain.
Calvin Lewin. I switched.
So.
He's been my captain for the last couple of weeks, and I switched him and put Harry Kane in charge.
Oh, man, you are shite at fantasy football.
Muck. And if you're not already watching tonight, Friday night, I don't know if this is going to be out in time, but there's a match on tonight, and it's Newcastle and Palace, and it was an 8 o'clock kickoff. So if you haven't confirmed your team on Friday before 6:30, your changes are gone. So, ready, ho?
Okay,
that's fantasy football wrapped up. So, introduce our guest. He is...
Well, possibly could have been Ireland's greatest ever player, the one and only Italian 90 megastar, Mr. Mick O'Brien.
Welcome, Mick.
What an introduction! Thank you.
Are we getting the O'Brien? Are we getting the O'Brien right, or is it O'Brien?
O'Brien, but O'Brien works as well. If I'm in Irish class, it's O'Brien. But
when I was putting the Skype address in, I noticed then it was an E and not an A, so I was thinking, is it O'Brien?
Yeah. No, O'Brien.
O'Brien is something our Ashley would call a slave name. We'll not go there, but
politics. We're not here to talk politics.
No, well, I'm a political guy, you know, so I'm on safer territory these days on politics than I am with Subbuteo, but I'll give it my best shot.
How have you been keeping through latest round of lockdown? You keeping well?
It's been extremely trying, and actually, I'm going to savour doing the things I like doing that I haven't been able to do, like go to gigs, go to the pub, all the rest of it. But even, I can appreciate for people that are Subbuteo players, like they've been badly deprived as well over the last, number of months. I actually play chess as well as Subbuteo, and you can actually play chess by computer remotely, like against other people from all over the world. But it's just one thing you can't do with Subbuteo, it requires being present. Being
in each other's company. Speaking of the pub, what would be your beer of tipple? Have you brought a beer with you tonight?
Trink, 1, 2, 3, 4, lift your stein and drink your beer. 1, 2, 3, 4, lift your stein and drink your beer.
Well, I toyed with the idea of going pale ale, but I've stuck to the soft drink of Guinness. I haven't tried the Guinness Zero yet. Like, I'm very curious. I'll have it for research purposes, but
they pulled that back. It was doing something, the boys, was it? They pulled it back.
Yeah, there was some fault after a big marketing campaign. Like there was some bacteria or something in it, but
alcohol. Boys were getting drunk and they didn't know what was wrong.
Yeah.
It's alcohol free. It's only 3%. It's alcohol free.
Practically a soft drink if it's 3% in my book.
What are you drinking tonight, Bradley?
Well, I've gone for a St. James's Gate brewed harp.
All right.
In honour of Mick. You're a dub, aren't you, Mick?
I am a dub, but I thought harp was brewed in Dundalk. But
Dundalk.
Yeah.
There used to be a harp. There used to be a harp factory in Dundalk. We used to pass it when you were going to school trips.
Yeah. Harp and McCardle's. McCardle's is brewed in Dundalk as well.
St. James's Gate.
Yeah.
Dublin 8.
They moved.
Oh, I've also brought a Dublin beer. I had a Rockshore. So we're supporting you. We're supporting you tonight, Mick.
Very good.
That has a soft drink, Rockshore.
4%er.
Yeah.
Can't complain. Let's crack on. Get this interview out of the way. For Mick's probably panicking here. Mick, as we said in the introduction, you played 1990 World Cup when you were age 14. And then, can you tell us at that age, going to Rome, what was it like to go and play in a World Cup at 14 years of age, and how did you feel when you went?
Well, it was a big eye-opener for me because it was the first time I actually travelled abroad. I'd never been out of Ireland. Hadn't even been to Britain at that age. So I had to get a passport, all the rest of it. But also because it coincided with the Italia 90 Soccer World Cup and the Republic of Ireland had qualified, there was quite a bit of media interest. Like, it was seen as a very novelty thing. So I actually sent Mark Farrell photographs of newspaper clippings that I collected from the time.
He sent them to me, so
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, there was a whole lot of media interest, and I do recall actually when I was over there, Jerry Ryan, big radio personality, interviewed me as well while I was over there. So I didn't fully kind of appreciate what a big deal it was until years later looking back. So, and then of course Channel 4 had the documentary coverage as well, and there was all sorts of drama, at the event itself. So yeah, it was.
Did you
good.
Did you see that unfold as it happened, or was it in a different part of the room? Or?
Well, the funny thing is that the drama that I'm referring to was this spat between Carl Young from Wales and the Scottish guy whose name has momentarily escaped me. It might come back to me as my head's a bit rusty. But anyway, there was this kind of tension. But the funny thing was that when myself and Eamon Casey was the senior champion. When we travelled over, we went via London, and we had to link up with the English, Scots, Welsh, and Northern junior and senior. So a lot of us travelled with our entourage. Our entourage in Ireland was a guy called David Lowe, who was a kind of a toy and games merchant based in the Sandyford Industrial Estate. He was basically Waddington's agent in Ireland. So two of his employees kind of chaperoned us going over there. So we all went over as an ensemble, and there was a clear tension between Carl Young and the Scottish senior guy whose dad was a referee and all that. He was very well connected, and by God, their names will come back to me before the end of this interview. But it got very ugly at the event itself. So that was that was a big sideshow away from the actual playing pitch.
And you didn't see the Italian and the Dutch guy having the argument over the penalties? No?
I did. I've Polaroids of that. I brought out one of the old-fashioned Polaroid cameras, so I distinctly recall watching that. And the Italian junior, he was very infantile. He was a very bad sport. The Dutch guy, I remember his name was Van Breukelen, and he was very calm and unassuming. And it didn't come as a surprise to me. The Portuguese guy, Vasco Guimarães, won the thing. I remember there was a facility in the hotel for friendly matches, and I played Vasco Guimarães, and he hammered me, 5-0 or 5-1 in a game, and he was absolutely superb. So it came as no shock when he went on to win the thing.
Brilliant. It must have been daunting at 14 years of age going away. So your first time ever to go away. Somebody from a toy shop's taking you away.
I know, yeah. Like the things that happened, that it just wouldn't be allowed. Like, or to be all sorts of Garda vetting, or the Italian equivalent of Garda vetting required now. But it was innocent times in that sense. The funny thing about it as well is that when the draw was done, and I'm a bit suspicious about it to this day, but it was just bizarre that out of a draw of 20 nations or whatever I think it was, England, Scotland, Wales, the Republic of Ireland, and Gibraltar came out in one group. It was, I don't know what the odds are of that. And one would be suspicious that there was something happened to ensure that there was some UK representation in the further rounds, by grouping everybody together, So
smells fishy.
It does.
I remember a certain draw being done by a certain player in the room. Totally for one of our events. The draw just appeared online. It wasn't live or wasn't shown. Bradley, no any recognition of that, Bradley? No.
Yeah.
I don't believe I was ever involved in a draw like that. You're Ireland, right? You're Ireland.
Oh no, God, no! That's all that's long gone. I only have the newspaper clippings and the memories. I did have the VHS of the Channel 4 documentary, but that's gone as well. But you can get it on YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube now.
And a few Polaroids. That's
Have you got the Polaroid?
Yeah, I've got some badly taken Polaroids. I sent a couple of them to Mark as well. It was one of the disadvantages of not having a camera phone. Was that there was the top of my head was missing, and for some of the pre-match photographs and all.
I'd like to see the Polaroids, definitely.
I'll dig them out.
Just the Subbuteo Polaroids now.
Send them all to me, and then I'll decide what to post up. So as we all know, you're good friends of Mark Farrell, and grew up together, playing together. And obviously you retired at the young age of 16. Would you say that you had to continue playing? You probably, and I would say you are Ireland's greatest Subbuteo.
Well, I appreciate the question. I mean, if truth be told, what I would say is there was a lot of very good players in the 80s and early 90s, and there was nobody that was very dominant. I mean, people like Brendan Savage. I don't know if some of these names are familiar. They may have been mentioned in some of your previous programs, like Brendan Savage from Finglas, who won 2 seniors in the 80s. Ewan Harton, Eamon Casey, who travelled to Rome with me. Padraig Carley, who was from Springfield and Tala, he won the juniors in 1988 and continued playing for a while. I got to the semi-finals that year. Eddie Nolan, who was from Crumlin as well, who won the seniors in 92, which was a bit of an upset. So there was a good half dozen plus, without even mentioning Mark, who came on a bit later on the scene, who are capable of winning tournaments even at senior level right up to the end. But I started around 1985. So I was at it for 7 years, which looking back is not a very long time, but at the time it felt I'd given it a good go. And Mark took an interest in it, I recall, after I'd actually won the Irish Junior Champions, which was in November 1989. And that piqued Mark's interest, and he took it up. So, like, in a sense, myself and Mark were contemporary players for about 2 and a bit years. And he improved and very, very rapidly. And I'd say I tried to rack my brain. I recall us playing each other competitively twice. And I've never beaten him 3-1. It was a game in Easton's, which Easton's on O'Connell Street frequently had tournaments basically as a promo for the game. And then in Martin Taylor, who was another I should have mentioned, who really done a lot for the game in the early 90s. He arranged for a tournament in Talca Park, Shelbourne's ground, because Martin was connected with Shelbourne, as am I. And I remember Mark beating me at that. That was one of the last couple of tournaments I played. But, so definitely Mark and me were fairly well matched by the time I chucked it in. And I think he went on the better things after I'd given up. So truth be told, I would definitely cap to Mark as the one that was up and coming. Certainly, I felt at the time that I wasn't going to get much better than I was at that stage.
But if you had continued, you would have been the best player in Ireland.
if you insist.
You would have went on to win the Ulster Championships. You would have been Ireland, All-Ireland champion. Obviously, the game lost a great in 1992. Well,
actually, funny enough, there was another player called Lawrence Cummings, whose father represented Northern Ireland in the 1990 at senior level, but his son Lawrence, I played at a tournament in Easton's. It was 91 or 92. And I remember he fairly well beat me, and he was a really impressive player, and I'd never encountered him before, and he was very, very good. So that does stand out. So there was a good collection of players. It was very competitive, we'd say, back then.
We definitely missed out in that sort of years of some we were kids. Like we got it as a game for Christmas, and it was played in the floor of the kitchen, and that was it. It was put away after 20 minutes of fighting. Fighting with your brother.
Well, what happened was that if you got a set, you see, I was bought a set from me dad, actually my father, who's 78 now. My dad played Subbuteo in the 1950s, him and his brother.
Right.
And he got it by mail order. There was the flat players, and so I think I was aware of Subbuteo before I took it up. And then there was another classmate of myself and Mark's, Ken Kenzie, who got the game before us. So that was an introduction for me and others. And so I got it for Christmas 1985. And but when you got the set, in the box there was a slip of paper, like a form, for what was called the Republic of Ireland Subbuteo Association, but it was effectively run by David Lowe, Waddington's agent in Ireland. And at that time, in the 80s, there would have been on average maybe one, possibly two tournaments a year. There was an Irish championship every 2 years to coincide with getting somebody to go to Europe or to the World Cup. And then Easton's would have had kind of a promo tournament. Arnott sometimes had an occasional promo tournament. But I'll give David Lowe this, like, even though he was a marketing man and all that, he when Martin Taylor arrived on the scene, Martin would have been in his late 30s and was kind of, took to the game and was ambitious to kind of make the game a bit more professional the way it was being played on the continent and in Britain. David Lowe, he just handed over the operation to Martin, and we had just a greater frequency of tournaments. And in Dublin at that stage, like, there was a league of about 7 of us in Crumlin, all of us in our mid-teens. There was a league of about 7 or 8 in Springfield and Tallaght around Padraig Carley, who won the juniors in 1988. Then there was people around Blackrock, like Eamon Casey, Ewan and Harton. There was a guy called Simon Whelan in Dundrum. And then Brendan Savage in Finglas. But there was others as well who played going back to the 80s and even late 70s. But Martin managed to network everybody around Dublin. And we used to go up to his house, a gang of us, every other Saturday in Baldoyle. And he managed to bring players. So we all kind of improved. It was like a hothouse. And there was just a greater frequency of tournaments being organised. And he organised international opens. Like in 1990, I think for 4 or 5 years in succession, I played in 3 of them. Players from all over Europe came. Some of the top players in the world, people like René Bolt from the Netherlands, I recall, Eric Naziali from France. I'm sure there's others that, if I rack my brains, I can recall them as well. So, it was an up-and-coming scene. And I think Martin, he continued on after I'd given up. I think he moved to Donegal, actually. I could be corrected. So I don't know. He just maybe disappeared off the face of the scene. But he'd be well worth interviewing if you could make contact with him.
Must try and find him. Must source our Donegal contacts and see if we can find him, Martin.
A few of them names very recognisable. We do the Friday Friend thing on the Derry City page. We had Eric. I can't say his last name. What do you say?
Naziali.
Naziali.
Yeah.
Lovely guy. He's big man and festive now.
He is, and I think he gave it up for a whole period of time as well, and then he just came back into it. But he produced a magazine called Movement International. I don't know why it was called that, but it gave kind of coverage of tournaments and so on, and articles. And I think Martin Taylor subscribed to it, and he made those available to us. So it kind of connected us. There was even a ranking system in Ireland that was similar to the international rankings. And if you like, the tournaments that took place in Ireland are rated internationally. So we were very well plugged in to the international scene that way as well. But it was very Dublin as well. Like obviously, what was happening in the north was, and we did have a team. There was a Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland tournament at one stage. But outside of Dublin, the only other scene was Limerick. There was a guy called Trevor Askins who was quite a good player, and he held a few tournaments in Limerick in the early 90s. But outside of that, like, I'm sure there were people playing Subbuteo all over the country, but they just weren't connected in with the scene. It was before the days of the internet and social media, so like things are hard. You have to.
Well, harder.
You had to go to the phone in the corner of the street to try and connect to someone.
It was so 20th century, yeah.
You're lying on post to get the letters over.
Yeah, exactly.
Through bandit country.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about, what was I going to ask you? Oh, about your retirement. Apart from you made an appearance last year at the Oval in Derry or in Belfast. That was sort of the last time you played between 92, was it? And apart from some rare games from Mark Farrell in his house.
But prior to that, like from 92 to that game in the Oval, that tournament in the Oval, I'd say I probably played about twice in the intervening 27 years. It was very enjoyable. The game has changed in some ways, like the figures have changed, so and the rules as well. So that definitely took a bit of getting used to, and I couldn't master the change of the rules even in the course of the tournament. So I needed a bit of guidance along the way. But I definitely got a bit of an appetite back for it, like so. I'm very open-minded about trying to. And I did actually, myself and Mark and Kenneth have talked about playing a few games. But obviously with this lockdown, it's on ice. But I'd be definitely open to playing a few more.
You're saying there's a chance for in 2021 you could come out of full retirement and start playing tournaments again?
I'd say maybe I'll come back on a part-time basis perhaps. But I need to get myself some equipment so I can get a bit of practice in and all the rest of it.
Well, we normally do what's in your box with the guests, but obviously you were telling us you don't have any equipment anymore, so
it may be residing in my parents' attic in Enfield in County Meath where they moved. I think they took all that, or they might have dumped it long ago. Yeah, but I've had to bum teams off Mark the last couple of times I've played.
Well, maybe our sponsor, Bad Boy Boxes, will send you a box and we'll get you a couple of teams to put in it and get you back. Try and feed you back.
That would be much appreciated. That would be Christmas, actually.
Brian Daly, the Batman needs a box. Sort him out. I obviously we've fucking loved your information. You've a lot of stories about back in the day, which we love, and it's great hearing all the old names coming up. And obviously Mark had told us about when the both of you played together, and obviously he's had loads of competitions back in the day. And Mark was saying how everybody, like you said, about all the internationals coming over, so it'd be great to be back at that stage sometime, wouldn't it?
It would, and I've occasionally kind of looked up on the internet about how the game has changed, because when I went to the Italian 90 World Cup, it was actually a turning point, because at the end of that World Cup tournament there was a meeting of some of the senior players about the formation of a proper international body, and basically again Waddington's like, and I'd be the last person to be praising of a multinational, but they kind of handed over control to the players thereafter. So everything was run by FISTIF, I think was the federation that formed afterwards and so on. But I don't know, the game just waned in Ireland, but I don't know, I'm assuming the game kind of declined maybe in other places as well because of
all over, man.
I'm assuming it's just competing entertainment and available to young people. That wasn't, I mean, I'll put it this way, that when I started playing in the 1980s, that maybe things hadn't moved on significantly from when my father was playing in the 1950s. But change came a lot more rapidly in the aftermath, that Subbuteo wasn't going to be the thing that young people were going to be inclined to play, I guess. But you would know better than me, because you were more active yourselves, I suppose, during those few decades.
We drifted away. I mean, when did I start? I started playing when I was about 15, 16, 15 maybe. Moved house. Didn't know anybody. Nobody was playing it. You know what I mean? You get caught up in other things.
Yeah, a lot of people stop
drinking, going out, carrying on. Do you know what I mean? Then everybody seems to drift back to it. 10, 20 years down the line.
You discover alcohol and women.
Basically, yeah. And as well, I think moving out as well, moving into kind of flatland and all of that, like, which I did when that even had I not given up at 16, I'd say circumstances would have probably forced me to give up by the time I went to university, that I wouldn't have had the time for it. And then when I moved out of me folks at the age of 20, like just hulking a table around with me wouldn't have been an option.
Going to university with a board and a pitch.
I took
anybody want to play Subbuteo?
Yeah.
Fuck off, mucker. That's what you got.
Yeah.
We're too busy getting stoned.
I know we're certain bands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Mick, I'd like to thank you for coming on, taking your time. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Obviously,
I've enjoyed it.
Hopefully we'll see you again in better terms for a game.
I think you will, yeah. Hopefully so.
Definitely.
Thank you. Well, you're back now, Nick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pretty much you're back. Farrell's only around the corner. He get in a car with him. You know what I mean? Drive up here, the next All Ireland.
Yeah.
That's what we'll do. As we were chatting, whenever this is over and we're getting back, we know All Ireland this year. We had to wrap up the Irish Championship early, but sure, we'll start back with the All Ireland.
We'll all get vaccinated first, yeah.
Vaccine, mask.
Yeah.
I need to see your paperwork before you get on.
Hey, Mick, thanks a million, mate. I really do appreciate it. So,
No sweat. Take care.
And I've got your number now, so I'm gonna keep at you for I'm gonna keep on at you for coming back. So
okay.
Much.
I have to do it then.
Good man.
Take care.
Good to see you again, man.
You too. You too.
Take care, mate.
Safe.
Thanks a million. Right. Have to introduce. Obviously, we don't have what's in your box from Mick. So Brian.
You know what I'd like to see? You know what I'd like to see?
What?
I'd like to see what's in your box. What's in?
Well, here. Do you know what? Here's what's in my box. Bradley.
Boom.
What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
All right, so this is my box, Lawrence Watson's box. Obviously we don't have a box from Mick O'Brien, who's the guest this week, as he's been out in retirement for quite a long time. So this week it's my box. So we've got all our little badges. I got these made up. Derry Pelly, Paddy McCourt when he played for Derry. That's our club logo. Ryan McBride, who was a legend at Derry City as well, sadly passed away. We've got Minty, George Best up there. Another Derry City logo. Brian Daly's boxes. Need to sort this box out, don't we, Daly? That's our St. Pauli guys, our London Road friends, Dundee. A few in there. So, Flicks for Kicks stickers. So let's see what's in the box. So we have, this is my Brazil team. It's hard to get a bit of a view on them, but Brazil, and then Ajax. Both of them are on Sure Shots. A couple of tournament balls. We use Derry City, made by my Subbuteo. Always carry an extra one because we normally have to lend people balls to play competitions. Make sure they're... So, and then I have the Brazil keeper, which I painted myself to match the Brazil team, Allison. Let you see the Brazil team, if I can. It's 2016 that I copied. And then the Ajax team, of course, is Cruyff's team. And then tonight I've acquired from my good friend Martin Bradley. After we spoke with, that's not a Zugo team. After we spoke to Elliot, I want to start using Extremeworks bases. So Bradley has kindly hooked me up with a set of Extremeworks, which I'm going to start using. I need to get another set because I like to carry two sets of the same team. So basically, that is what's in my box. And just on the back, a couple of more stickers. Another St. Pauli, another Derry City Club. I think that's Melbourne, is it? And then Subbuteo collectors on there. And of course, the boys bought me this box for my wedding when I got married a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. So that's it. Thank you. Right. That there is a box. That's a box. Well traveled.
It's a pretty good box.
Well traveled.
Where'd you get that box?
The boys in the club bought me a box at a wedding present. Thank you very much.
Because we love you so much.
Muchas gracias. Match highlights.
Rock on.
Match highlights. Just didn't really get into the game. I think that's the move you got.
Oh, get on the sun! He gets angry.
Stuart Dallas. Watch by Royce.
Oh! Get a foothold back in this game, and we spoke about the gilt-edged chances. Goals change games. Really, second half performance from Germany, the game could be over. But if you need to see it, Tony Kroos is asking him.
You're a shite bag, mate. Why did you score against them for?
He scored against me.
God, God!
Those songs good.
30th of January.
Book bad tickets beforehand because of his skin in January.
I sell out quickly.
I won't buy a ticket.
We get discount for being your race.
Alright.
I only get a +1.
To exploit that space.
They certainly have a taste of Gavin's pace and probably did. Really good play from Connor Washington, held up well. Canabry.
What? What?
I was so you freak. That's ridiculous.
You're a dickhead.
And you know the.
We can get away with fucking 3 flicks for Bramley.
Oh!
You're a dick.
He's got under your head now, man.
Super defending from Kai Havertz.
Great ball in the box from Kinnick. Roberts gets on the end of it. Probably good further forward.
Fuck you, it's going to hit off your keeper.
So McGuinness on this left-hand side of the attacking trio for Northern Ireland.
Suppose it gives Michael the option in the last 10 minutes to really go for it. Alongside Connor Washington, needs be. We're still chasing this game.
Ah! Woo!
Havertz. It's Gloucester.
Ah.
So they want to bring the ball in. Fury just got right. So far side by Gavin White. He will try forward here for the home team.
We trickle! We trickle!
Cheap giveaway.
Times faced Germany as manager of Northern Ireland. He's lost the previous 3. Is this about to go the same way? Netherlands looking dangerous.
Rocket dickhead.
He is prepared to get here. It's his
Good entertainment.
Some action.
Some action there, eh? We need to get back playing. It's killing me. It's killing me.
Killing me too, man. It's killing everybody. It's killing everybody.
In from my box, I have invested in some extreme workspaces.
Ooh. You've invested? Or you've
Well-
asked me?
You give me a set.
I've invested. Invested fucking what? Invested my time and energy. That's what you've invested.
I asked you, did you want money? And you says, nah, take them. Take them. So
I wouldn't take money.
they're mine. Now,
From a poor struggling YouTuber, I wouldn't take money.
here, Painter's Corner, right?
Go.
I'm going to do a wee homage to the great Diego Maradona, who passed away on Wednesday. Sad times. Sad
Bad
times.
times, man. Everybody loves Diego.
And do you know what?
Diego is football.
Do you know what? Do you know what day he died on?
What?
The same day that George Best was buried, I think, 15 years ago. Either George Best died on that day 15 years ago, where he was buried. So, two greats.
I once played football with George Best.
You've a photo of that?
Yes, I do.
Here it is.
Me and Georgie were like that.
Here's the photo of
At
you and George.
The Ideal Home Exhibition in Temple War Sports Complex.
Well, it's your claim to fame.
One of them.
Very good. My dad played against Pat Jennings when they were kids.
The greatest goalkeeper ever. They stand in front of an onion bag.
Obviously, I can't ask my dad now, but I remember him telling me a story. I think they either played at Celtic Park in Belfast, where Belfast Celtic used to play. My dad wasn't playing for Belfast Celtic. I think he was playing for a team called the Hibs, or else he played up in Lurgan, and Pat Jennings was doing nets, and my dad was playing up front. So
did he score, or did Pat Jennings save it?
He says he didn't score. But that
fucking Pat Jennings. Do you know
exactly, Pat Jennings. I'm going to actually say he did score. Nobody's ever going to know. They were like club teams that won any sort of high level.
I think Pat Jennings is still with us. Pat, if you're watching,
he is. There's somebody
a postcard.
But they're trying to get a statue made for him in Belfast, which I think is just about right.
You ever hear the joke about Pat Jennings?
Eh?
There was one of the big tower blocks in Belfast was on fire. And all the police and all the fire brigades and everywhere there, news everywhere, half of Belfast outside it, people getting saved out. And then the 10th floor, there was a woman screaming, "We're a baby." And they got the big ladder up and everything. The woman was having none of it. She said, no, I'm not, I can't get the baby out. Can't get the baby out. The ladder wouldn't reach. They said, "Throw the baby out and we'll catch it." "No, Jesus, she's off your head. Big trampoline thing. Throw the baby out, he'll land on that, it'll be all right." No. Get Pat Jennings. I'm trusting nobody but Pat Jennings. The safest hands in the world. Get Pat Jennings. They get Pat Jennings. Pat Jennings comes up through the crowd. Out of the way. Pat Jennings there. It's all right, look. Gloves and all on him. Drop the baby. Your woman, thank God. Jesus, there's Pat Jennings. Throws the baby down. Pat jumps up, grabs the baby. Straight down on his right foot. Boom.
I was wondering where that was going. But anyway, this is about Maradona. Diego. So Painter's Corner this week is dedicated to Diego Maradona.
Beautiful.
So, Galactica, Subbuteo Galactica has done a little Diego Maradona. He only done it the other day, so there's a wee photo of his. I'll post up some photos of mine. And for the next Painter Corner challenge, I'm asking everybody to either recreate a certain Diego Maradona moment or paint a certain kit or whatever you want. Anyone, I know Subbuteo Legends might do the hand of God. I think he's already done it. So maybe he can post that up. So send it to me.
No reruns. We want fresh paint. Come on.
Fresh one. We want a fresh one. So put them up. Let us see them for next week. Send them to me and we'll get them on next week. Because I'd say be planted by next week. And obviously, if you didn't like Diego Maradona, we are sorry for saying that he's dead. But
who doesn't like Diego Maradona?
Well, a lot of the England supporters don't like him for his hand of God in 86. Fair enough.
Roll with the punches. Take your oil. He was the greatest. Come on.
I seen a post on Facebook and I don't. But Diego Maradona cut more lanes than somebody in a supermarket.
Anyway, don't tarnish the man. Don't speak out of that. Don't tarnish a man's reputation. Come on. We're back. We're bigger than that.
We're back in the room. You want to introduce your buddy when you get a chance, sir?
Wake out, ladies and gentlemen. Probably the world's preeminent Subbuteo YouTube channel. None of your old pretenders, none of your old shite. The number one Subbuteo channel is graced week in, week out by the world one and only Ms. Ruby Matthews.
Ruby.
parents. There's still no events, but I've just played a game with my dad and he beat me 1-0. And it started off and I took kick and I had the ball and got shot, but it stayed 0-0 and it was a pretty even game first half. Second half, when my dad kicked off, he put a lot of pressure on, but still never got to score, so I was still okay. But then about halfway through, he scored to make it 1-0, and I had shots but never scored, and so it ended 1-0 to Dad. Bye.
Well done, Rubes. Beautiful, as always, Ruby. We appreciate the time you take to send us them little videos.
Wayne's killed in school doing homework.
Wayne doesn't get
still makes it time for us.
6 o'clock at night she gets home from school and she's forced into making videos for us. But you'll appreciate it Monday. We appreciate her. She's brilliant. So that's about it.
Whenever we get moved on to prime time, BBC One Friday night. Do you know what I mean, Ruby? It'll all be worthwhile.
If we're still going, right? If we're still going, say in 6 years' time, Ruby will be 18. We can get her on the show, and she can be our female co-presenter.
Get her singing and dancing.
We can get her doing loads of things.
Table football weekly.
She can be our Danielle. That's what we hope for. We need a Danielle. 'Cause I'm sick of looking at you.
The public aren't, and that's what matters.
A quick,
all about the fans.
A quick little video from our new muckers, Nucky and Alan, Nucky Thompson and Alan. So here's a quick little video of what they've been up to since last week, and they're getting great responses on their videos. So keep it up.
Cracking.
They've started a Twitter page. There's their Twitter feed. So give them a wee check on Twitter, give them a like and follow them or whatever you have to do. And here's a wee video from Nucky and Alan.
Cool. Yes!
Well done, lads.
I like them boys. I'll tell you why. These boys, right? Never that first time there, they have a pitch they play on a board. Them boys never played since the 80s, and they played then on the carpet, and they've rediscovered and they've come back. They've built the table and they're setting it up. See this pandemic, this lockdown. Boys have started to lose it a bit. The Subbuteo community at large were a wee bit out there. You know what I mean? It's a Wayne's game. Big grown men were playing table football. A lot of boys start regressing back and start thinking about when I was a boy and start fucking collecting things. I start talking about my favourite team, this reference, that reference.
It's going somewhere.
Sorry, I remember I had this ball and it was a tango. What's your favourite ball? Oh, my favourite ball was a fucking miter. You know, all this shit. These boys are playing the game. They're in there. They're getting it. The table up. They're following it. They're playing matches. They're having wee competitions. And you know what they're doing? They're actively seeking out the Subbuteo community at large in the UK. They're looking to join leagues. They're looking to get into tournaments. They're looking to start playing. They see where the crack is. And they want to play the game. It's a game to be played. It's not a game to fucking polish and stick on the fucking shelf and talk to weirdos on the internet about. Nah. They get out there. Get a bit of crack. Start playing.
Right. And you were never a nerd. Right. You got that off your chest.
Nah.
Right. That's time. We've run over this week. Time for you to get out of here.
Aye.
Get out of here.
Is that us?
That's us, smoker. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Who we got next week?
Say goodbye to all your fans.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. As always, see you next week.
See you next week.